and welcome to Unlimited... God damn it, I did it again! No.
Did we just change the name? Should we just change this podcast to Pop Culture Unlimited?
Ugh, fucking Christ. I'm so... Because every Unlimited Free Time video I start with, hello! Maybe I should come up with a different way. Hola!
Yeah, no, start in a lower octave. Hello!
Oh, yeah. Hello! Make it sell. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pop Culture Party People, a podcast where two friends get deep into the pop culture landscape. Woo! My name is Dillon, and I am a humble host here, and I have one of my closest friends ever.
And I am Warren Chow, and I am a host of this show as well, and I'm a comedian, and a performer, and a host. Hey, how's it going?
I don't know why we just reintroduced ourselves. This is our 5th episode, so it's kind of weird that I did that. But you know what?
The algorithm does say that everyone enters the 5th episode of a podcast, usually.
Interesting. Interesting. Mm-hmm. Honestly, at the end of the day, though, I know that a lot of people sometimes come into a series I find it weird when people go into a series at the most recent episode. That's just not the type of person I am. That is a weird thing for me as a person to just be I'll just forego these past 4 years of content that they made, and I'll just hop in now.
I think a podcast, though, that makes sense, though. If I was going to listen, when I started Tiger Belly, the Bobby Ali podcast, I started with the most recent one, or I looked for people I want to listen to. I'm not going to start from his very first one. He's 300 episodes in now. I'm not going to go to episode 1. I'm not going to bother with that. I'm going to go most recent.
I think that's kind of true. For Joe Rogan, I did that. Joe Rogan's up to close to 1,700 now or something like that. So yeah, I was okay, that's a huge back catalog to do. Right. But if they've got less than 100, I will usually start from the beginning.
Less than 100. Okay, interesting. That's your number. I'm 10. If it's 10 episodes in, I'll start from the beginning. Well, also, it depends on what the podcast is. Is it telling a story of which I need to start from the beginning, or is it just fun conversation with some great guests?
Well, yeah, I have to say 9 times podcasts are broken up into two kind of forms. One is an active story that you need to follow, and you obviously should listen from episode 1. And then, of course, there's kind of our podcast, which is we're talking about things in a general sense, right. And if you miss episode 3, it doesn't necessarily affect episode 4. Obviously, you would be oh, I guess they're recommending stuff from last episode, right. But it's not, you wouldn't be so lost in the weeds
right.
that you wouldn't know what's going on.
I just want to take a moment and introduce all of our listeners to our production meeting side of the podcast now, where you get to listen to us riff about things we want to do with the podcast and how we analyze how to make our podcast more relevant.
I really think that you need to be more Chinese and I need to be more white. I really think that we really need to play up the stereotypes.
Man, I'll tell you right now, I won't put on the accent, so I don't know how to be more Chinese on a podcast then.
I mean, if I want to be more white, I guess I could call the cops more, really denigrate society in such a way. I actually recently just started listening to a podcast called Nice White Parents, which is done by the New York Times.
Yeah, so I heard that. I heard that advertised through listening to the podcast that you suggested to me.
Yes, yeah. So it's kind of the follow up to the most recent New York Times podcast that we're going to talk about later in the episode. Yes. But yeah, dude, no, this Nice White Parents one is it's rough as a white person to listen to it. It's really obviously there's no lack of white discomfort nowadays, I guess, and rightly so. We deserve it, 100%.
Fragile white egos.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's so unfortunate that throughout history we've been so shitty. And I'm not ashamed to be a white person. I don't, the white guilt and stuff like that. I don't know if I identify with that, but I do definitely empathize with the fact that historically we've just been kind of awful, and I'm not super happy about that. But
so wait, the premise of that podcast is that historically all black school then integrates white kids into it, right? And then how it all changes suddenly, really as the study shows through the white parents, right?
Yeah. So the podcast is about a predominantly Black and Hispanic school in New York, which, by the way, for those of you who don't know, New York is shockingly segregated when it comes to their schools,
especially the private schools.
It's more segregated than the South. It's pretty fucking insane how segregated the school system in New York is. Yep. And yes, this school in Brooklyn, as we know, Brooklyn has been gentrifying for years now and is now finally coming to the point where this area got really gentrified with very well-to-do white families, very wealthy white families. Yep. And they decided that they wanted to integrate the school, for the better, quote unquote. Yep. And that as they enter the school, they're basically shoving all of their, not necessarily whiteness, but all of their wealth. And I think that's one of the bigger takeaways from the podcast. It's not so much about whiteness, because that's kind of a amorphous thing. It's about money, really. That's the real crux of the issue, because these wealthy, affluent people who just so happen to be white want to change the school in their eyes to the better, which means like spending more money. And that's not necessarily always the case. So that's a big part of the podcast.
But then are they spending money to help their kids out, but by also knocking down the Black and Hispanic students that are going there?
Kind of, yeah. They start like
then the whiteness is a huge issue then.
Yeah, it is. Well, but I don't know that if like very rich, say Asian or Iranian parents came in, right? And they were trying to do something. I don't know if that would change the school for the better or change it for the worse. I honestly think it's more the money and maybe not so much the whiteness. I don't know.
I think it works together,
complex.
though, because systematically you're not going to see rich Black people being able to do that or rich Hispanic people being able to do that. It's just systematically those white people were able to thrive. And then instead of giving to the community, they're going in and taking over and making it what they want it to be, which is a place that they're taking over the schools and the place of which the Black and Hispanic people have been living their entire lives and just trying to survive and thrive.
Yeah, and they're kind of making it their own in a way that's not wanted. Yes. So it's unfortunate and I don't like it, but the podcast is very good.
Let's check it out. And then also, there is currently a huge issue of private schools. So they do this whole diversity program, but really what is happening is that Asian families are capitalizing on that. So what you're having is private schools predominantly Asian, then white, and then hardly any Black or Hispanics. So the whole idea of giving back to the community, Black and Hispanic kids are not able to capitalize on it. And a big thing is that Asian families are having their kids study for these tests that you have to test for to qualify for it at a very young age, whereas Black and Hispanic students, through their public schools, are not even told about these tests until it's too late or not at all. Like maybe they'll pull over the exceptional students to tell them that they should prepare for that within maybe like a few months, instead of like a very early stage, like doing like a prep SAT course, but more of a course based on getting these kids into these private schools. So that's been an ongoing struggle within the New York private school system.
No, yeah, that's true. Isn't there like a terminology for like the racism that Asians get, but because it's like positive, it's like it's got a different name?
I can't. I don't know. I experience it, but I don't know what it's called.
No, I know, because it's still a derogatory term, but it's like it for some whatever reason, Asians have been, vaulted into society as being smarter, more hardworking, blah, blah, blah. But it still adversely affects them in certain ways, of course, as any racist policy would. But I can't remember. There's like a terminology for it, and I can't remember what.
Well, Yale just lost that lawsuit that they proved that they were purposely discriminating against Asian students of enrolling and getting into school there. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking weird. Sorry, this is a pop culture podcast and we've gotten into a deep discussion of race.
I mean, we got into culture.
You know what?
If we break down every word in our podcast, we got into culture, and I'm proud to talk about that.
I absolutely agree with that. Also, you can't talk about pop culture without talking about race to a certain degree, because, I mean, our culture is the pop culture that we create, right? Like, you can't make pop culture without referencing some aspect of our culture in it. So... And as we're seeing with, this past year and the past couple of years and diversity in things, and luckily diversity is finally starting to get some slight headway. It's not anywhere near where it needs to be yet, but luckily with people speaking out and actively being like, hey, this is not right, and that it's important to see people of your own race and of your own color and of your own background in things so that you have like a hero or just some identification in society. Like, that's important. And it's easy to take that for granted as a white person because I've got so many idols that I can see in the world, right? Like there's not there's not a shortage of white people I can look up to.
Right.
But for a lot of, I think, Black and even Asian and other people, like, yeah, they don't see a lot of that representation in media.
We need more representation.
Could...
And also, we can share idols. Like, by having more representation and more examples of all sorts of cultures represented, everyone can appreciate those idols. I think Chadwick Boseman was a great example of that. Without a doubt, he was cherished by everyone. Everyone. It's not that he was only for Black people. He was for everyone. And he truly shined as a great example of...
I 100% believe that. Yeah, I was super, of course, sad to hear that he died. And I'm not going to be, one of those people on social media who's like, oh my God, this is the world's greatest tragedy. But I feel for his, none of that. But I'm very upset that, one, the man had obviously such talent and he's going to be missed, not only just because of his performances, but because, he was a symbol to the world for so many kids and for so many other people that, they're relevant and that they were accepted and that they were seen.
Yep.
And that's sad to know that is gone now for them. Like, that sucks.
I mean, within his career, he played so many poignant and important figures in history. He played James Brown, played Jackie Robinson, and he played T'Challa. I mean, the guy, he accomplished so much, and he stood strong, and he had this grace and elegance to him, and he was so powerful, and he's leaving behind quite the legacy in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, and I'm also like I'm pretty proud of him for keeping his illness a secret and not making that the thing that he, wanted the world to know about, kept it very private. I think that's actually really brave and pretty amazing to actively be like, look, not only that, but to make all the movies that he did while keeping that kind of under wraps is truly fucking incredible.
Truly.
Like, honestly, to think that he was doing Black Panther while fighting stage 3 colon cancer, which is one of the worst cancers that you can possibly have. So brave. Is so kind of unbelievable. Yeah, it's kind of remarkable.
It's a superhero task what he did. So
yeah, it's a superhero feat. So yeah, I didn't want to talk about it too much more than that, but yeah, he will be missed. I'm sad to see that he's gone, and he was a huge pop culture icon, and I think will continue to be. I think he's going to be a symbol for years to come.
Truly.
Specifically for the work that he did. Yeah, man, this episode's a downer.
I mean, your podcast isn't going to help. Rabbit Hole is a huge downer. That podcast, all right, so I'll jump right into it as a segue.
Yeah, let's go into before we do. But is it good? Yeah, let's do our recommendations from last time.
Yeah, let's get all this out of the way. This painful culture things right now.
Yeah, well, while we're on the topic and everybody's already depressed, why don't we just keep it going? Just fucking get all in on that depression, baby. Can I put 10,000 on depression, please? Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
All right, what do we have here? The category is the internet destroying us slowly but surely? Yes, the answer is most certainly yes.
What is the reality of our lives now, Alex? Thank you. So yes, I recommended Rabbit Hole, a podcast by the New York Times, to Warren. Warren, would you like me to explain the podcast a little bit, or would you like to take that honor?
Well, I've only listened to one episode, but I think they've already described what it is pretty thoroughly. I'm not sure if the other episodes kind of go into another direction with it, but it's essentially breaking down... I've already forgotten their names, and I feel so sorry about that. But essentially, one reporter was saying that he was having a conversation with someone who was just really releasing these lambastic, crazy thoughts that he read earlier on Twitter. And he asked him, are these your genuine thoughts, or are you just regurgitating something that you read on the internet? And the friend said, I don't know. So they kind of are looking at the idea is, are people's ideas being altered by things that they have no control over, or are they genuinely researching and creating these ideas on their own? It might just be the first episode, but through that question alone, they then went to showcasing someone who didn't fit in high school and found their foundation through the internet and through YouTube, and then they went all the way to talking to the person who created Guillaume. What's his full name?
I can't remember. It's French. It's very French.
It's it's Guillaume Chassolot. I probably just butchered it, but that.
Oh, you did. You took that shit straight to the butcher shop. You were just like, "Hey, by the way, is this a person? Yeah, I want. Give me a couple of burgers. I will also take. Yeah, cut the leg in half, please."
So I'm just gonna make that into a nice stew. You know what? The bone will come out. All the nasty parts will come out. We'll fish it out with the whisk, and we'll be good. So Guillaume created the YouTube AI system that basically filters what your next recommended video is going to be. And then through that rabbit hole, you'll be showed things that you didn't necessarily want to find and are finding, and then thus altering your perception of what's going on. Yeah.
Yes, that's a very apt description of it. So yes, the overall, because I finished the podcast, the overall context of the whole podcast is, how is the internet essentially changing us right now? Because yes, the premise of this podcast is that this reporter is like, man, I see people like saying stuff on the internet that they would never say in real life. Not only that, if you ask them about it, they can't even really remember saying it. They can't even, like, they're just, on this kind of like feedback loop of getting attention and not necessarily thinking about the consequences of it. And how deep does that go in our society? And yes, that leads them to speak to the people who created YouTube, and then that leads to how YouTube can potentially be used for evil, for white supremacy and the alt-right. And then it goes even deeper into, how QAnon got started and all these things, that all of the stuff that humans are kind of primed for. And we talked about this last episode with The Vow, right? Mm-hmm. All of these kind of like things that at first seem like people are just helping.
Right.
Or people are just being kind, or people are just expressing their opinion. And it's not bad, right? It's not a bad thing to do that. But over time, and as it gets corrupted, and as these algorithms get smarter and more devious, and as society starts to maybe not look so hard into how these things are actively affecting their day-to-day lives, how it can become this entrenched thing in your life that is actively bringing you misery and could potentially be harming the world. And I think, obviously, Facebook is a phenomenal example of that, right? Like, on the face of it, isn't Facebook a wonderful thing? You get to stay in contact with your friends. And
long-lost friend you can reach out to. You can see how your family member's doing. Yeah, it sounds fantastic. What could go wrong?
On the face of it, it's perfect. Yeah. But then, obviously, once you pull back the curtain and realize the manipulation and
when you start to open marketing, the pages. You see what I did there?
Thanks. That's the end of the podcast.
Yes, mic drop. All right. Joke so good it ended a podcast. I'm proud of that feat.
Yeah, that's fucking great. But yeah, no. So how did you like the first episode? Do you think it's a good podcast? Did you enjoy it? Are you interested in listening to the rest?
All right. So a lot of my podcast listening is done while I'm riding my bike. So like many people, I like a commute with my podcast. But this podcast, it's very cerebral, and I want to be sitting down listening to it. As you said in our last podcast, it creates an image in your head, but through songs that are played or through clips that were really popular at YouTube all the time, like Chocolate Rain and Old Greg were played next to each other. I instantly put those images in my head of watching those YouTube videos of where I was when I watched them. And by doing so, they not only put a timestamp on what era they're talking about, but also put you in the seat of like where you were in that time. So the reason why I bring up being on a bike and doing that is it's highly dangerous in New York City biking to be kind of like lackadaisical and somewhere else. So I would just be so immersed in my head of like, oh my God, like what is going to happen next? Oh, this is how the algorithm was created. Oh, wow, this is what their YouTube history is. And all of a sudden, I'm like, oh my God, okay, all right, back on the road. So I'm very excited.
I'm sorry that I endangered you. Didn't mean for that to happen.
Yeah. Little did you know that you almost killed me by suggesting a podcast. So now know that our show, it has weight. It has a lot of weight to it. That's my life in your hands.
Absolutely. Well, I have to say, this is one of the few podcasts where, I agree. Most of the time when I listen to podcasts, it's a secondary activity to something that I'm doing, right? If I'm cooking, if I'm playing a video game, any of these things. But this podcast is so good and is creating such, like, deep audio sensory things that you actively, you want to, like, lay in bed or sit on the couch and just listen to it. And also the information that they're giving you is relatively complex. Like, the concepts and things that they're talking about require you to think about it a little bit more deeply than listening to, like, Joe Rogan, right? Where you're just like, okay, these are two people talking, right, and I can listen and, kind of pay attention.
Yeah, they're going to talk about, like, hunting at some point, or, like, all right, they're talking about weightlifting or fights. Okay, all right, well, they'll get there.
Yeah.
All right.
Have you seen, have you done DMT? Jamie, pull up that clip.
Jamie's good, right? Jamie's a wizard. How would he pull up that clip so quick? Wow, Jamie.
But okay, so I'm glad that you listened to it. I highly encourage you to listen to the rest of them. I found this podcast to be so fucking interesting, and it's so well put together. It's really, I don't know if there is a podcast award. I assume that there is, but I do hope that they get something for it, because I think they've done a phenomenal job.
Truly. This should be the same way that Serial took over the landscape for a bit. This podcast should have the same amount of clout and same amount of attention. It is truly spectacular. Truly.
Oh my God, dude. You remember those Halocon days of Serial being the only fucking thing that people could talk about?
You couldn't stop. They're like, oh, have you heard of a podcast? Do you listen to podcasts? And be like, oh no, I don't know what you're talking about. They're like, all right, well, this is a huge, great story, and this is that. And my takeaway was always like, that should just be a documentary. Like, why is there not just footage of that? Or why can't I just watch that? I don't want to listen to it. That sounds stupid.
I think that one of the weird things is I actively, as much as I love documentaries, I'm a fucking documentary filmmaker. Yeah. I'm trying to be. Yeah. I do think that podcasts have a different, they have like a different flavor. And as much as I do want to see it as well, I think that if you're doing a podcast right, it's somehow maybe a little bit more emotional. Because, it's right in your ears, It's like you're, not only that, but with Serial and with this, I'm creating everything in my mind, right? Like if I'm really into it, I'm, with Serial, I was, picturing Anon, because, and the amazing thing was, like, you only had a couple of pictures of Anon and the crime scene and all this other stuff. So it's like you were really, as a listener, creating that world in your brain.
Sure.
And I think that's pretty impressive. And obviously the reverse is true with a documentary, where if a documentary is doing everything right, it's presenting you with as much factual information as possible to bring you into that world. I think both mediums are kind of perfect for telling those stories, but really, I do love a good true crime podcast.
I will say also, the more limitations you put on a creative, the more creative they get to be. I think that, like, through the struggle of being like, oh, I want to tell this medium, but I can only do it through an audio form, it can create these really beautiful creations, such as the rabbit hole and Serial. So I think that, like, through trying to do comedy and act in this landscape, like, doing a few radio shows here and there, like, really kind of, it's like, oh wow, there's a lot more that we can do here, and it's almost more fun to see what you were able to pull off with only your voice and with some, like, random noisy audio clips. So
yeah, absolutely, totally agreed. So is that a recommendation for Rabbit Hole from you?
Yes, a huge recommendation as of only episode 1, and I'm gonna keep listening to it. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Awesome, man. Yeah, dude, I can't wait to talk to you more about. As the series progresses, it gets even fucking weirder.
Yeah. To add to our sadness, what did you think of Last Chance U?
So yes, I would say that last time I was recommended Last Chance U, and I, funnily enough, I had seen episode 1 a long time ago when it came back out in like 2015, I believe. Wow. And it didn't necessarily hook me. Yeah. It wasn't. it seemed like a good documentary, but not a documentary that I really wanted to get that invested in.
Yeah, it's overly testosterone, like football's important, like our town survives off of it, like it's the most important thing in this Mississippi town. It's JUCO football. It's like, okay, get over yourself.
Yeah. So a part of me was like, okay, back a couple years ago, and I didn't watch it, but lo and behold, they've had 5 seasons since. It's actually, honestly, one of probably Netflix's most successful documentary series outside of Chef's Table, which is, oh god, what a wonderful fucking
salivating just hearing Chef's Table. Like, oh, Chef's Table.
Well, yeah, I mean, also, before we get into Last Chance You, I need to take a moment and just say the cinematography in Chef's Table is some of the best cinematography ever put to camera. Like, it's really? The level of skill that they bring to that show when it comes to shooting food is honestly unbelievable. Like, I look at the shots that they achieve and I don't know how the fuck they're doing this. Or even if I do know how the fuck they're doing this, I'm like, I just don't know. I'm just so captivated. I mean, it's magical. It's so good that entire network dedicated to food has never tried to recreate it. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That is so very fucking true. God, that's hysterical. Yeah, food. I never even thought about that.
They haven't even tried.
It's never even fucking come close.
No, they're like, oh, okay, that is a gold medal. We'll take bronze. We'll gladly take bronze. We'll take our studio.
We don't even need a place.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to Last Chance You. So what I did was, because I had watched episode 1, and I knew that you said it had a big contrast between season 5. Mm-hmm. I wanted to do my due diligence, and I had a little bit of time. So I watched the first 3 episodes of season 1, just to get an overall feel for the direction and scope of the show from season 1. And then I watched the first, I finished Last Chance You, season 5. So I really enjoyed it. I think that I even enjoyed going back, and I actually may start watching the rest of this series because, one, sports stories and sports documentaries inherently are interesting to me because, one, it's so foreign to me, right? Like, I am not a sports person. I do not watch sports. I don't care about sports. Mm-hmm. But the drama that comes through with sports is pretty compelling and captivating. Yes. And honestly, some of my favorite documentaries are sports documentaries. The Last Dance was unbelievable. Mm-hmm. I think OJ Made in America might potentially be one of the greatest documentaries ever made. Mm-hmm. I think anytime ESPN has done a 30 for 30, I've usually been 100% captivated by them. Because it's, one, for me, I'm learning a whole new set of information, right? Like, I'm learning a whole new thing that I wasn't even aware of at the time. Right. But 2, as a filmmaker, and the filmmakers who make Last Chance You are quite good, they're pulling on every emotional heartstring that they can, right? With these underprivileged kids who are just trying to fucking make their way in the world.
Get them out of their terrible situation. They just want to play football and get their family out of the projects.
So I will say that, yes, the contrast between season 1 and season 5 is pretty fucking stark. Yeah, season 1 is so, testosterone / like football is life. Yep. It's the only thing in life. Yep. It comes at the cost of everybody else too. Yeah, they're kind of just bodies to be filled, and winning comes at all. It just feels very kind of. It's very compelling, but also feels kind of gross. Yeah, it's like I'm not.
They're highlighting the coach in the first season. They're like, oh, we're going to highlight the storied career of this institution and the coach and how he's able to do it. But then they're like, oh, right, they're people in those pads, and we should take interest in these 18 and 19-year-old kids who are putting in this insurmountable task of supporting their entire family with their football career.
Well, I also think that it's interesting because obviously it's Last Chance You, so these are kids who fucked up. Yep. Like the only reason that they're even being given a second chance is because they're good at football.
Right.
And on the face of it, I find that kind of morally reprehensible.
Truly.
I think football is morally reprehensible because we fucking know that it causes brain damage. And like the idea that we as a society, it's our favorite, or as Americans, it's our favorite sport. Right. It's the sport we love more than any other. Right. And it's like, that's problematic in and of itself.
Let's shorten their entire lifespan just for our gladiatorial enjoyment of watching them clash their heads together and ruining themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And then it's also the thing where it's like, to be good at football, you have to start really young and all the brain damage. So it's like, yeah, to me, on the face of it, knowing everything I know about football, I'm just like, ooh, yikes. On the other hand, once you get to a certain age, I mean, yeah, it's your choice, right? Like, you can choose to do that with your body. Yep. No judgments. You are an adult. Yep. You can pick that for your life. And it's interesting seeing these kids pick it as their life, right? Like, because they don't feel like they have any other option. It's the only way that they think that they can, get their family out of poverty or bring some semblance of wealth or prosperity to their family. And that just leaves me feeling so, like, disheartened. Truly. And it sucks. And especially, the first season contrasted with the fifth season, where the coach in the first season, he's basically kind of a monster to a certain degree. He only cares about winning. He doesn't care about the kids, really. Like, they're just an ends to a means sort of thing. And in season 5, that's contrasted kind of beautifully with the coach who could not be a nicer person.
He's fantastic. He's a perfect father figure for all these people. He genuinely cares. He's genuinely a good person.
Well, no, he's like a pillar of the community, right? Like, could have left Oakland at any point,
stayed
to pursue, bigger fame and fortune, stays.
Yeah. Born and raised in Oakland, from Oakland, truly a child and giving back the community that he had to survive in.
Absolutely. Could have not really cared about the kids and just been a coach and been a tyrannical overlord. Yep. Doesn't do that. Actively feeds them, takes them into her home, gives them counseling, does everything in his power to make sure that these kids start off on a right foot, start actively doing it. And, of course, there comes the football aspect of it, which I have never liked. And I think that's one of the things where I don't think I'd be good in the military. I wasn't good at football. Yeah. I don't like people yelling at me.
And that's a lot of yelling. It's nonstop yelling.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not a huge fan of the idea of people just like getting their way through intimidation or anger and stuff like that. And at least with him, it feels like he's doing it for a purpose, right? He wants to make them better so that they can go on and succeed.
Right.
Like, that's evident. But on the other hand, it's just like,
still
shut
gross.
The fuck up.
It's still gross.
Yeah.
It's still gross what he's doing, and he's yelling at them. But at least afterwards, he still checks up on them to see how they're doing, and he still like cares about them as people. He's not yelling at them to then just batter them more afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. No, he yells because he cares.
Yeah, man. It's such a terrible line, but you know what? It works in a kitchen. It works on a football field, and it works at home.
Yeah, no, I have to say there is some method to that madness, right? Like, you do have to be tough with people, especially as these kids, like we said before, they fucked up already. Yeah. Like, they're in a program where they're trying to prove that they can be better than they were before, whether it be at school or playing football.
Right.
So yeah, maybe a little bit of tough love is the way to go. And honestly,
and the system wants them to quit too. The whole system that they're fighting against wants them to quit and just kind of settle for just staying in their situation and not trying to move up their life. Like, the system doesn't want them to go to school. The system doesn't want them to get a better job. They would just want them to stay at this remedial place. So my hopes that this coach is trying to push that little drive into them to be like, come on, want more, do well in school, better yourself, get a degree. And I think the first case that I can remember of a student joining this team to get a better education, to get a better career to support his family of 3. So it's like, it's nice to see that people are starting to see this more for just trying to get the NFL, but in fact a better chance to get a better education to then better their lives. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, my favorite aspect was the coach, and I really like that new guy, N-U-U. Yeah. He was like such a
lovable guy.
Polynesians, man.
Yeah.
Just the best.
Truly.
Can't not love them. And yeah, I also like that the show kind of goes into the gentrification that's happening in Oakland right now, and how it's kind of changing the city from what it was to what it could be. Although I do think that segment, I think that the segment with the cop where he's talking about, because he's been living in Oakland his entire life and has been a police officer, and the idea that Oakland needed to be like this violent place and whatnot. He's like, I don't know why people want to go back to those old days, but he's also coming to terms with the fact that gentrification is not the right answer either. It's always,
it's a constant struggle. It's like
Yeah, constant struggle.
I don't know what the answer
but
is.
I think
But hopefully there's one soon.
Thank you for recommending it to me. Yeah, it's an absolute recommendation on my part. If you are a big fan of documentaries, if you're a big fan of sports, I highly recommend it. I think it's a really good show, and I'm interested to go back now and kind of like finish season 1, kind of see, because every season's a different team, right?
So season 1 and 2 follow EMCC, and then season 3 and 4 follow Independence in Kansas, and that one will be. I'm not going to give anything away. That one's an experience all its own.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. Well, awesome. So those are our recommendations for this week. Now, what would you like to recommend that I tune into, watch, read for next episode?
Well, as you know, I do Let's Play on my YouTube channel, but the real reason why I started doing it and got a lot of inspiration from is from one YouTuber in particular. And if you don't know him, I want you to check him out. His name is Cory Kenshin. You can look him up. It's CORYX Kenshin, like Kenshin Himura. And he is a black YouTuber. He has 7.13 million subscribers right now. He mixes in anime and pop culture. And he does really funny bits. And he does a segment I think you're going to love. He does Super Scary Sunday, where he reacts to scary videos that you find on the internet. And please check him out.
Awesome. Yeah, no, YouTube is so huge that I haven't heard of this guy. Has he done something with Maximilian Dood?
Maybe he has. I don't even know. He's been doing it for such a long time. I only found about him recently through my buddy Shane Williams. So, YouTube is humongous.
Okay, yeah, no, YouTube is fucking massive. Yeah. I think that's obviously one of the appeals of the site is there's like always something new for you to discover, such as unlimited free time or show me the chaos, hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But okay, so Cory X Kenshin, and check out the Scary Sundays.
Super Scary Sundays, or just some
Super Scary Sundays. Okay, cool. No, I'll definitely tune into that, and I'm always looking for new YouTubers, especially because I've got a whole segment on my YouTube channel highlighting YouTubers that I love. So yes, this is beneficial to me in many different ways. Yeah. So we've recommended podcasts, we've recommended comic books, we've recommended movies. Yep. We haven't recommended any video games yet, and that is doing us a disservice. Video games are a huge part of our lives, and I actually want to talk to you a little bit about Dragon Ball FighterZ after we do these recommendations. But I wanted to recommend a game to you that I don't think you've played, and it's one game that I really loved recently. Okay. It's called What Remains of Edith Finch.
What Remains of Edith Finch? Okay, I haven't even heard of this. What is this all about?
So it's a small indie game by a publisher who I really respect. So it's not a video game that you would normally traditionally think of. It's basically a story that you're going through as a video game character, and it's kind of like you are coming back to your family's house. Okay. And you are kind of discovering the secrets of your family inside this house.
Oh, okay.
And you're finding your family's stories through these journals and stuff that they've left.
So, like, you're finding, like, your dad's old porno mag and, like, you're finding...
Absolutely. Porno's a huge part of the game. I didn't want to give too much away. No, it's more like... It's kind of creepy. Okay. It's kind of mysterious. Sure. You don't necessarily know what's happening. I don't want to give too much away because the game will do that. But it's a fantastic experience for gamers who are maybe looking for something different.
Okay.
Who are looking for something that they've never kind of played before and are looking for a story-based, narrative-driven type of gameplay. I know that it came out for VR. I know that it's on the Switch. I know that I personally got it when it was free on PlayStation a couple months ago, and I recently just got around to playing it. And if you don't have a copy, I'll lend you mine. But yeah, I really want you to play this, and I want you to experience it specifically from like a storytelling perspective, but also just from a video game perspective. I'm interested to see your take on it.
Well, what a great suggestion! I can't wait to play it. It sounds so fun. Is it similar to Life is Strange?
I've never played Life is Strange. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. I've only played 20 minutes of Life is Strange, so I'm really just kind of throwing it out there.
I would say that it's potentially more akin to Journey in the sense that it's not, there's no fighting, there's no, health bars, there's none of that. You're going through a story but playing it at the same time. Obviously, Journey is completely different in the way it's presented kind of musical aspect. This is more. It's almost like an interactive book in some ways.
So there aren't a lot of puzzles then. I'm just kind of like.
No, there are puzzles. Okay. There will be some puzzle aspects to it, but there isn't like any. There's no fighting. There's no nothing.
Oh, God. Like I have the thing. I just want to smash things.
But I think you'll really enjoy it. And it's also, I think it's a good way. Once again, I know that you're trying to get more into horror and start appreciating horror more. And then there are definitely some suspense horror elements in Edith Finch that I think that it's a good place to start.
Cool,
specifically.
Man.
Especially maybe if I start recommending more horror video games as well for you to get into.
More ways to scare the crap out of me. Awesome. Yeah, maybe what I'll do is I'll stream my gameplay of Edith Finch on my computer.
Yeah, that's amazing. And also I believe the game itself is only like 2 hours long.
Wow.
It's the length of a movie.
Okay.
So yeah, you'll be able to basically finish it in one run or two runs.
Okay. Done and done. Well, great. I cannot wait to start playing this game. But also I'm like super itchy to talk about our Is It Good segment.
Oh, well, yeah, absolutely. Before we get into Is It Good, though, for those of you who don't know, me and Warren are huge DBFZ fans, Dragon Ball Fighter Z. We love it. And we got some good news a couple of weeks ago that you had been praying just for. On pins and needles.
Since the game first came out, I was begging for one character to be in the game.
And lo and behold, a couple weeks ago it got revealed, and in a couple weeks it will be coming out. Who is that character, Warren?
It's Master Roshi, the Turtle Hermit, the linchpin of all things comedic in Dragon Ball.
Yeah, I am really excited about this as well. But no, Warren had a hard-on for fucking Roshi since the game came out. He was like, why isn't he in the original roster? What is going on? I'm so upset. There's 15 Gokus, not one Roshi. Yeah. What the fuck is going on?
Every year they release their roster of downloadable characters. So first it was like, let's say 5, then 3, and now it's like 4 this year, I think. I don't know the exact number. But every time they'd release the mystery of like what roster it is, and slowly reveal one character after the next, I'd be like, it has to be Roshi. Of course it has to be Roshi. And then be like, oh no, it's not going to be Roshi, whatever. Oh, is it Roshi now? Is it Roshi? Just like all the steps of grief I was going through with not ever getting Roshi. And lo and behold, with the last roster of characters to be added to this game, he made the cut! He made it!
Yes, and we're very excited to play him. And actually, we have a very close friend of ours named Dale Zarb, who we may have on the I actually think maybe when he comes out, we should have him on the podcast, and maybe we should... I don't know if we can play while we're podcasting, because that would be kind of difficult.
No, but we can do a stream or something like that.
But yeah, we should definitely kind of coordinate with him and then have him on the podcast. And then, yeah, we should get real nerdy about Dragon Ball one day.
Yeah.
Because I think it's been long overdue that we've had like a good Dragon Ball discussion about the games, about why it's so important, all that good stuff.
Yeah, and how the anime doesn't hold up. Ooh, I said it. The anime does not hold up.
Ooh, I gotta disagree, but that's for the episode. That is for the episode. But yes, speaking of fighting, kind of tangentially, we should talk about, but is it good?
Is it good? This segment of Is It Good is brought to you by the 1993 movie Surf Ninjas. Brought to you by a merger of New Line Cinemas and Sega.
Sega!
New Line Cinemas approached Sega to fund their movie, and they created the Sega Game Gear just for this movie. And
boy, oh boy, is that evident.
Yeah, it's a huge plot point in this movie. It tells a story about two princes who had to flee their country and go into hiding to survive the takeover by a tyrannical old white man reappropriating Asian culture. But the prophecy foretold at the age of 16 they would go back and take back their country that they once loved. What they didn't say in the prophecy is that there was going to be a 30-year-old sidekick along with them, disguised as a 16-year-old boy. And they also didn't mention that Tone Loc, the ever-popular rapper, would be a sidekick with them as well.
For those of you who don't know, he did the song Funky Cold Medina. And for those of you who don't know what Funky Cold Medina was, it's a song from the 90s.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know what the 90s was, it was a decade before your current decade you're living in.
I just have so much to talk about with this movie.
I can't wait to talk about it with you because this is the first time that I had ever seen Surf Ninjas.
Oh, right.
I am an adult grown man. I'm almost 30 now. And I have to say, watching Surf Ninjas for the first time as an adult grown man was interesting. I would say definitely maybe doesn't play to the same level that it would as I was a kid. Nope. But I want to hear your take on it before I get into it as a brand new observer with adult eyes. I want to hear because you loved this movie as a kid.
I love it as a kid.
I know you've talked about this film. We used to talk about this film sometimes when we were just hanging out.
You have to watch Surf Ninjas, man. It's the best kids movie. It integrates surfing and ninjas better than anything ever before.
I know that you are deeply in love with this film, so please tell me, is it good? Yeah, but is it good?
The answer is no. It's not good. Really bad. I don't remember any of this movie clearly. I didn't realize that they spent half the movie in LA just like bullshitting around till they finally get to the action parts, and the action parts don't even hold up. Like, I get if you're making a crappy kids movie. But if you're Ernie Reyes Sr. and Ernie Reyes Jr., two historically great martial artists, choreographers, then make the fight scenes good at least. Like it was just like sloppy all around. And Leslie Nielsen got like no play, but they also didn't play to his strength. Like he himself, what he does best is playing a person in a position of power, straight faced and being a buffoon. What he doesn't do well is being a straight-up buffoon and falling all over the place. Like, Mr. Magoo didn't work because that's not what is
Leslie Nielsen is the perfect straight man.
Yeah.
He is the straight man. You need him to be stoic in the face of goofiness.
Right. Like, if anything, he should have been the cop. He should have been his idiotic cop self, like, being like, they're like, oh, ninjas attacked us. Be like, ninjas? I don't see any ninjas around here. And then like get chopped in the back of the neck or something like that. Or like a ninja's right in front of his face. And I don't know. It could be done so much differently. But I did like that an evil white man reappropriating Asian culture was the villain. I just wish that was highlighted as the thing. Not these silly phone gags, like these very of the era. Did you hang up on me when I picked up my phone? Like, it doesn't play.
Yeah, for those of you who haven't seen Surf Ninjas in a while, Leslie Nielsen is in full samurai dress almost the entire film.
Yes.
For those of you who don't know, Leslie Nielsen's a white guy. And samurai dress, not great for him as a person.
Mm-hmm. He's a cyborg. He's half cyborg now, old white guy in samurai garb the entire time. Who got turned into a cyborg because an elephant, funnily enough, stepped on his head, which I don't know if you know this, but that would have fucking killed him. Yes.
That would have fucking straight up ganked him.
I guess our podcast isn't built on me talking the next hour about things I didn't enjoy about this the second time around. But quickly, what I'll say is that the ADR in the movie is really funny. It made me laugh the hardest. Of things they had to change after the fact, there's a fight scene where they have in a burger joint, and one of the characters picks up a skateboard to defend him with, and the ADR they have as his back is turned to the camera and he's fighting with is "Yah, skateboard, yah." So they had to fill something in with there, and all they could come up with was "Yah, skateboard, yah." And so throughout the movie, I just kept listening for those moments, and I had a lot of fun with that.
How do you feel about Rob Schneider?
He's bad. He's really bad. He's really bad. But I think that's like what Rob Schneider was doing on SNL. So he was playing his type really well. It's just weird that he's a 30-year-old man doing it. Like it's just, and also like he's supposed to play like a white kid thinking that he's like gonna be the king, which is funny and really great that they casted a half Filipino actor in that role. I just wish that it was someone maybe a little bit younger and a bit more animated. Like him doing quippy lines doesn't work in a movie like this that's moving at like this idiotic pace.
Yes. Well, I will say this: having watched this for the first time, and I really went in on this film. Yeah. I sat down, I had a notepad, I took notes.
I'm right there with you.
There are a couple of things that really stood out to me. One, my favorite, right off the bat, this movie is going to be utter garbage because they have a scene where the two brothers go surfing.
Yeah,
and the shot is literally just a cowboy shot of them not in the water at all. And then they transition to two extras who don't look anything like them.
Yep.
Not even fucking close. And they are making it like those are the guys who are surfing. Yeah. So I was like, oh, this movie is already perfect. Yeah. I can't fucking wait. Cannot fucking wait to see where this goes. Yeah, everything about it, from the fight scenes to, oh my fucking Christ, the dialogue. Let's just take a moment to say, look, kids can be dumb. It's fine.
Yeah, they don't know any better. They're kids.
They're growing. But you know that their parents have to take them to the movie, right? Mm-hmm. Like, just for the sake of these poor parents, give them slightly better dialogue than this. Every single one of the awful lines that Rob Schneider or the kid brother says are so literal cringe-inducing that you can't just not ball up into a fetus where you're just I can't. How did this get made?
Must wash myself. Must be cleansed of this.
How is this possible? Now, what's the name of the lead of Johnny? What's his name?
The actor's name?
Yeah,
Ernie Reyes Jr.
Ernie Reyes Jr. is awesome. Yeah. I'm so upset that this guy, I know he was in Ninja Turtles, which we're going to talk about soon, but I think this guy is so fucking charismatic and cool, and that he actually could have led a franchise if he wasn't in films that were this bad.
So they tried. So the story goes with this is that they tried to do a TV show with him from Patusan, like a foreign exchange student, essentially going to this LA school and then doing martial arts there. It was called Sidekick, and the writer director of the show, Dan Gordon, knew him from that. They worked on it together, and then they worked together to make this film. So Ernie Reyes Jr. was supposed to be this breakout star. They tried a lot of projects for him, but it just didn't happen for him, which is such a shame. From this, I don't think he didn't really show up again until The Rundown in 2005.
God, that's a long time.
Yeah.
That's a long time to take a break. Well, I have to say, sadly, because the dialogue is so bad and because the action is so cringy and because the story is so nonsensical, which, by the way, this is done with Sega in the sense that they tell partially so the kid brother has a Game Gear that can affect the real world.
Yeah.
It's not explained.
Yeah, the Surf Ninja is a game that literally predicts the future and you can interact with the world.
Yeah. It's not explained in any way except for the fact that, hey, isn't that cool? You can buy this game, kids. Right. Hey, you gotta buy these games. You want to buy it?
It's fun. And on that note, the most offensive part in this movie isn't anything of them making up this fake Asian culture, or having Leslie Nielsen in Japanese garb the entire time. What's the most offensive part to me was seeing that little kid's face in that Game Gear. That is the most racist portrayal of an Asian boy on a game screen. He might as well just have his eyes completely squinted, have a rice hat on top of his very prominent bowl haircut, and have buck teeth on his fucking face. That shit got me so angry. I was like, why would you make this? Oh, just don't even show it. Don't even show it. Ugh.
Well, yeah, the crazy thing is the cast is predominantly of Asian descent, which is cool to see. Yes. Not even modern films don't have this much Asian representation. But man, oh man. Yeah, no. I do think, though, if I was a kid and I was watching this, I definitely would have enjoyed Surf Ninjas as a kid.
I mean, it has all the
I think it's got that... Yeah, I think it's got all of the awfulness that you expect from a 90s dumbed down kids movie, with just enough rad coolness to keep you engaged.
Except for the music. The music isn't rad cool at any point. It's so weird. It's like an Alice in Chains cover band the entire time. It's so awful.
It's strange. But
yeah, well then.
I think we've answered the question: is Surf Ninja? Yeah, but is it?
But
good,
is it good though? No,
is it good?
No, it's not. I'm gonna suggest a movie to you that's not good. It's called Surf Ninjas.
Well, that is it for this segment of But Is It Good? Next time on But Is It Good, we're going to be revisiting a trilogy, a beautiful, deeply culturally relevant trilogy that has spanned decades, has influenced so many people.
Lord of the Rings?
What do you think this... No, I mean, potentially, one of these days we may talk about it on Is It Good, but no, not that trilogy.
Okay.
Keep going. I want to hear more guesses.
Star Wars? Any section of the Star Wars trilogies?
No. Once again, another good thing for us to actively revisit, maybe later down the line. But no, that's not the trilogy I want to talk about. Think 90s.
90s.
Think 90s amphibians.
90s amphibians? Oh, I think you're talking about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Absolutely. After watching Surf Ninjas, I became a little bit nostalgic for 90s child cinema.
Yes.
And that sounds relatively creepy when I say it.
What are you talking about now? What?
After watching Surf Ninjas, I was like, oh, man, I haven't seen the TMNT universe in a while. And I loved those movies as a kid. Yeah. Or I should say I loved the first one as a kid, because 2 and 3 I didn't see until much later in my life.
Oh, it's a shame, because 2 is the best. 2 is the best. It has Ernie Reyes Jr. actually acting in it.
Wrong.
Oh, this is going to happen in our episodes. Don't you worry, listener.
But that's the reason why we are doing Is It Good? Mm-hmm. These are things that we haven't seen in a while. I don't know, when was the last time do you think you saw?
Oh my god! Back when it was still on VHS. I can still picture that box in my hand and putting the VCR.
I would say, I think the last time, maybe in college, I think we watched the first one, maybe as like a fun night movie or something like that, to like relive it.
Yeah, man, put the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in.
I think it's been at least a decade since I've seen them. Yeah. So I think it would be fun to go back and revisit all 3 back to back to back. And
that third one.
Maybe we could potentially do, that third one. But hey, save it.
Yeah. All right, we're going to do it for you. We're doing it for you, all right? Listen to us, all right?
So next time on But Is It Good? We're going to go back to Blast from the Past, a trilogy that started it all. We're going to be watching the TMNT trilogy from the 90s.
All right, great.
I can see the sadness in your eyes, and I love it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm here for.
I mean, at least we'll get Vanilla Ice. We'll get Go Ninja Go. So that'll be the silver lining.
Go Ninja, go. Go Ninja, go Ninja, go. Well, shit, we have done... we've already done an hour already.
Yeah, this flew by.
Time flies.
Yeah, comment and let us know. Will you be willing to listen to us for 2 hours? We could do it. We would easily crush 2 hours.
I wouldn't mind making the podcast a little bit longer. On the other hand, I do love the hour. I think it's so tight right now. Mm-hmm. Except for you dropping shit.
Yeah.
Ruining our audio quality.
Yeah,
God damn it, this podcast is over.
It's ruined. So that we've ended this podcast 3 times now. So
Hashtag podcast is over party.
Yeah.
But if you would like to hear us do a longer version of the podcast, if you'd like to hear, if there are movies from your past that you want us to talk about, let us know.
Oh, in fact,
very happy.
I am so sorry I've not mentioned it sooner. We have actually a suggestion from a fan for us to watch and critique.
How could you keep this from me for so long?
My friend Caitlin Clune has offered us the suggestion of For Love in the Time of COVID. I think it is. Or for Love in the Time of Quarantine. A studio has made a quarantine-based rom-com show.
Oh no.
Yes.
Oh no. Oh
Yep.
no.
I'm typing it right now to see
Who
where
made it? Who did it? Who did this abomination?
Amazon?
Okay. Is this like that one where they can't see their people?
Oh, sorry. It's called it's Love in the Time of Corona.
Okay. Not better.
And TV series, and it's on Amazon, and it's not even part of Prime, and it is at 5.7 stars currently out of 10.
That's not as low as I thought it would be.
I mean, we could venture this one episode at a time, but we've been challenged.
I mean, if we have a challenge, I am ready to accept that challenge.
All right. Love in the Time of Corona. It is on.
What should we call this segment? Trash reality TV?
We're going to call this Fans Hating Us.
Yeah, your stupid fucking suggestions.
Why do you want to punish us? And we're going to do it. We're showing how dedicated we are, but...
Okay, so yeah, we'll both watch episode 1 before doing next week.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. No, I'm down for some bad reality television. Maybe.
Well, no,
maybe
it's
I'll
scripted.
Love it. Maybe I'll escape.
It's scripted.
Oh, what?
Yeah, it's scripted. It's not reality. It's scripted.
Because everything that you just described before sounds like it would 100% be a reality TV show.
No, I'm so sorry, my friend. This is a scripted comedy drama. Yep.
Oh, god damn it. Okay.
Yeah. So this is the last episode that we will be coherent and funny. I expect next episode that we might be... well, you know what? Let's be optimistic. Next episode, we're going to be so happy that we saw the cultural TV show of our generation.
Yeah, maybe we'll love it. There's no possible way that a show slapped together in one of the world's worst pandemics.
Yeah. I looked it up more. It's not even on Amazon. It's actually on Freeform. So Freeform is what is putting out this TV show. So what could go wrong? What couldn't we love about this?
Well, yeah, if I know anything about Freeform, and I don't.
Great starting point. Great sign for a studio.
I know they're known for their quality content, I think. Potentially. Maybe. I don't know. All right. Well, that is it for this episode of Pop Culture Party People. Thank you so much for listening. Oh, by the way, I just got a notification today from our podcast server. We've got over 25 downloads.
Whoa! Thank you so much. Thank you.
We did it.
Thank you.
Yeah, that might not sound like a huge number, but it's huge to us because, hell, shit, we would make this regardless of people listening, but the fact that anybody listens means a lot to us. So thank you so much for everybody who's downloaded and subscribed.
Thank you so much.
If you would like to follow us on social media, we are at the PCPP Podcast. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram under that handle. You can watch us on YouTube. Every single time that we do an episode, we upload it at the same time. So if you'd like to see our beautiful faces instead of just listening to our glorious voices, feel free to subscribe to us there. Please. Warren, any plugs that you would like to plug for yourself?
Please look up my YouTube channel at Show Me the Chaos. Please check me out on Twitch at Show Me the Chaos, and keep an eye out for my sketch comedy team, Give the Baby a Knife. We'll be having our first show on Twitch on September... I'm the worst teammate. September 18th on Twitch. So give us a look.
Nice. I will definitely be watching that as well, and I still love the name of the group.
Yeah, wait till you see the graphic. It's so good. It's amazing.
One episode we should just go through every sketch comedy name and rank them.
Please. We can go super indie for people like the smallest sketch team possible.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to alienate our audience as much as humanly possible. Let's talk about surf ninjas. Let's get real granular on UCB names. You can follow me at all_the_birds on Twitter and Instagram. I have a YouTube channel called Unlimited Free Time, which, hey, I just broke 100 subscribers this week.
Congratulations!
Which was... Thank you so much. Yeah, that's like a pretty big milestone.
Yeah.
Obviously, I know YouTubers nowadays are in the millions and stuff like that, but hey,
gotta build
every
up.
channel starts at every channel starts at 0, and I've been doing this for about 6 months now, and have done a video every single week. So the fact that I'm getting a little bit more traction is amazing. Thank you so much to anybody who has subscribed there so far. If you would like to be one of those people, just go to Unlimited Free Time on YouTube, and we talk about documentaries and movies and other YouTube channels. So yeah. Well, Warren, I love you.
Too.
That is the end of another podcast episode. And until next time, remember, we are the Pop Culture Party People.
We put the cult in pop culture. Bye.
Bye.